Okay, Saturday night at Abhayagiri, and also the day after one pra. The Saturday night talk on the day after one pra is not an envious position to be in, for the most part, although it wasn't a mandatory late night sit last night for that reason. So, but if anybody stayed up late, you have my sympathies for this evening. But just reflecting the past bit of time since the retreat started at the beginning of January, had a number of reflections and readings, discussions, questions, answers on the themes of back to basics, including spending a lot of time kind of reflecting on Four Noble Truths, right view, teachings from Ajahn Chah being a central part of the back to our roots. Also, wanderings into some of the basic reflections and teachings of how we can structure our contemplations, various paradigms to explore Dhamma through the 6 sense bases, the 5 spiritual faculties, various themes like that. So lots of good tools, lots of grist for the mill to help us keep focused on the very important basic parts of the path. So hopefully people are taking them and contemplating and using them in the walking and sitting and daily activities. It's also sobering, I find, and I suspect many, if not most people here also experience this, how the personal narratives, the stories that we live by and tell ourselves about and relive over and over again, our personal narratives find their way into our daily contemplations, our daily meditation, our daily life, and how entrapping they can be, how mesmerizing these personal narratives can be, even with these wonderful set of tools we have to help move us beyond them. They're very persistent, strongly ingrained over many times of reinforcement, habit. And so all of us feel those moments when we just get lost in some sort of mood or storyline, past memories of difficult situations, concerns, worries about the future, the general milieu of having a human mind. And there's, in addition to the basic teachings on methodology, or we don't really do too much with methodology here, but basic structures of how we want to contemplate. But there's also another aspect of practice that I find so useful to help bring into focus during a winter retreat like this, anytime really, but particularly as a balancing kind of part of my routine, to bring it into a very human level. And it's trying to recollect and remember some of the stories of beings who have developed exemplary qualities that have served them in their search and their practice, and also are just manifesting from their practice, from their realization, from their understanding, and find that level of humanity very encouraging. Looking, like I was saying, looking at the personal qualities of some very special beings. And so one of the parts of the practice that I decided to pick up for this winter retreat was rereading the Great Disciples book, the Buddha's Great Disciples, stories of many of the important people around the Buddha during his dispensation, and find them just really bringing the Dhamma to a human level. It's not, sometimes when you read the suttas and the various teachings, there's a very, it's incredible. It's a wonderful collection, and that's our prime focus, I think, when we're studying and reading and learning the teachings. Compendium of magnificent, earth-shaking teachings. Sometimes you don't quite get the level of personality and humanity that comes in it. So when you have a book like The Great Disciples, where the authors have combed through the Dhamma and the Vinaya to flesh out a little bit more of these people, then you really start to get a sense of these were real people doing real things and being real inspiring examples for us to follow. So I think about those and reflect on those, and it really brings a lot of uplift to the mind, and kind of helps balance out the more formal aspects of practice. And I've just really started again getting through the introduction and some of the background that Bhikkhu Bodhi has written very well. And then probably about halfway through the very first chapter, highlighting Sariputta as one of the Buddha's two chief disciples. And just reflecting what an amazing person he was. Not only was he the what they call the marshal of the Dhamma, the one who was responsible for bringing so many of the teachings together in a more comprehensive way, the teachings that he gave, expounding on the Buddha's teachings and expanding on the Buddha's teachings in a way that the Buddha praised highly, and just over reading the various accounts of his activities and his teachings, just being so moved by his personal life, personal way of approaching not only teaching, but also of just being as a human being. Becoming fully enlightened, within the first month of his going forth. And then a lifetime of sharing the Dhamma and helping to nurture and support the community that he helped to develop under the leadership of the Buddha himself. And how he earned the reputation of being the one foremost in bringing the disciples, bringing the new students in the dispensation, the new monks, into realizing the initial level of stream entry into the path. That was kind of his forte, I guess you would say, that he was, with a lot of patience and repetitive attempts to help clarify and teach individually and groups, young disciples knew, and not giving up on them. Many times meeting and encouraging and instructing and overseeing the development of their practice. A very nurturing kind of approach for somebody who's already fully enlightened. But those were part of his innate characteristics and tendencies, his wanting to share what he had earned and what he had learned from the Buddha with as many people as possible, and with incredible energy and commitment. And also just sort of his naturalness, his extraordinary ordinariness, one way I can think of it, in the stories of him in the morning time before alms round, he would not go on alms round right away. He would go through the monastery after the other monks had departed on alms round and tidy up. He'd clean up any garbage that was lying around. He'd sweep off places that hadn't been swept. And after that, he'd wander over to the sick room where there might be some sick monks and tend to them, make sure they were getting their needs met, being encouraging to them, rousing them with Dhamma not only and as well as physical care and help. And it would be only after that that he'd go on alms round, collect some food for the day, or go to a dwelling where there is a meal offering, and then have his meal for the day. Or times, stories of times when the Buddha would go wandering with a retinue of monks. And one might expect that Sariputta would, being the second in command, so to speak, of the dispensation, would take his place at the front of the line with accompanying the Buddha. But no, he would stay behind every day in the morning as they were about to set off, and he would first, before himself setting off along with the Buddha, he would go find the elder monks, older monks who maybe needed some help getting started, going for the day, bandage their feet, getting ready for the next length of walk, things like that, tending to them, making sure everybody was taken care of before he himself launched out for the day's wandering, the day's walk, the tudong of that time. And then also just the amount of care and instruction he gave not only to the monks but also to the lay people. The famous story of Anathapindika on his deathbed, and Sariputta going to visit him to arouse and encourage him with a very insightful and brilliant instruction on the six sense bases. And Anathapindika was moved to tears. He was, over the moon with a teaching that he had never heard before, that was so inspiring for him in his last hours of his life, and the gratitude that he expressed to Sariputta for taking the time and coming to give him this very important teaching. Now, I don't know if it was as a result of this particular teaching or the accumulation, but then when he passed away, Anathapindika was reborn in the Tusita heaven and as a stream enterer. So not a shabby way to die. So just some examples of the kind of character that Sariputta was, and completely self-effacing about the whole thing. He was also incredibly patient and humble when there was an instance of a monk who felt somewhat dissed by Sariputta, ignored by him, and not with much basis in it, but and kind of developed a grudge and accused Sariputta of striking him. And when it was brought to the Buddha's attention, and Sariputta, he questioned the Buddha, questioned Sariputta in front of the assembly with this other monk who made the accusation, and Sariputta, not referring directly to himself, but talking about qualities of a being that he obviously possessed, and how it would be impossible for anybody with these particular qualities to strike another being out of anger. And it was apparently what they call Sariputta's lion's roar. So he wasn't any kind of shrinking violet in any way. He could make a statement when he needed to, and to the point where that other monk broke down and confessed that he had invented this story because he was feeling envious or ignored. And then that monk begged for forgiveness from Sariputta, which Sariputta immediately gave. Yes, I forgive you, And not only that, but very sincerely and very deeply said, and if there was anything that I did that caused offense for you, I ask for your forgiveness too. Not just a routine kind of response, but from the heart. So that just shows his humility and his ordinariness, in a sense, his extraordinary ordinariness. So to remember these kinds of things and think, gosh, maybe I can't be exactly like that, but maybe I can see if I can emulate some of these qualities, see if I can develop these kind of qualities within myself to ennoble the mind, in a sense, to just do what it is. That's what he was doing. He was just doing what naturally was right, what naturally he was inclined to. It wasn't out of any kind of, trying to make a statement or trying to be somebody wonderful or looking for any kind of praise or recognition for it. He was just doing what naturally came his way as the thing to do, the way to be as a human being. He didn't go around, trying to present himself as, oh, I'm the Buddhist's, chief disciple. That wasn't a thought that would cross his mind. So, and other examples like that from the teachings, I'm looking forward to just plowing through the book again, because I know there's some wonderful stories in there that really open the heart and kind of make this all very accessible, particularly when we get caught in our own personal stuff. And then, extending that to a more present-day experience, our teachers, Ajahn Chah, remembering him, the amount of commitment that he made to pursuing the path and not giving up, and then the relentless hours and days and weeks and months and years that he spent teaching and sharing his time and being available for anyone, for all people, over and over and over again. And his both his incredible wisdom, his teaching ability, and his warmth, all that meshed together and used when needed. And the dispensation that he's established in the world. His disciples, his Western disciples that we had contact with, Luang Por Sumedho, our own Luang Por Pasano, and the great gifts they've brought to us, establishing it, making it accessible for Westerners, relentless, tireless activities to help develop and support and nurture monasteries in the West. Abhayagiri, here we are, as a result of that kind of generosity and open-heartedness and relentless energy. All the years that he spent in Thailand with Ajahn Chah, and then after Ajahn Chah passed, leading Wat Pah Nanachat, and then coming here and helping to establish Abhayagiri, the numbers of monks he has ordained and trained, provided support to, and with an incredible amount of patience and good humor. So just reflecting on our own teachers here in the West, our mentors, and then all of us here. I mean, people in this room, people probably tuning in, who have made very, very sincere commitments. Every single person in this room is somebody who's made a sincere commitment to the teaching, and who have offered in whatever ways they can service to help keep this going, to help keep this monastery alive and functional, and contributing to a sense of goodness in the community, a sense of harmony, how we've all supported each other in our various ways with our different abilities. So to take some time to reflect on that and enjoy this rare occurrence in the world. So, there's the inner development of the path of practice. There's the outer element that I've just been reflecting on, the community, the people, the live human beings, the Sangha, the assemblies of monks, nuns, lay women, laymen, they all come together to keep this alive. And the internal aspects of our path, we also nourish and develop. And I think one of the prominent themes for my own practice so far this retreat has just been really trying to breathe even more life into the core basic practice of mindfulness of the body, just as our go-to spot, my go-to spot for contemplation, just over and over and over again, reminding myself to stay centered right here in this body, and to realize the peacefulness of letting go of self-obsession, self-identification, the ways that we complicate our lives, basically starting with the basics of just whittling away at this perception of me. I think one of the most important insights that we can all develop is this sense of getting out of the way. If we can just get ourselves out of the way, all these personal narratives, personal problems, the psychological deficits that we conjure up for ourselves, the habits of mind, really find their root in this sense of self, the sense of me. So the contemplations on anatta are essential in helping to free ourselves from our narratives, our stories. Because even then, if we have a strong insight and realization into not self, then the personality issues, the habits that we have, the tendencies that we suffer with, at least they become just that. It's just that much. It's not anything that I have to take ownership over. I have to respond to them appropriately, but I don't have to take on this sense of personal identity in relation to those narratives. And mindfulness of the body is the place to start, because if we can really get a full sense of just this body without an owner, then the extrapolation to the mind and the mind habits, the perceptions that we have, the mental trains of habits, all of those mental aspects of our experience that really lead us into difficult realms, those can all be seen much more clearly as they are, just in and of themselves as well. So just spending time really constantly walking up and down the trails, doing the morning tasks, as well as the walking and sitting meditation, constantly reflecting on understanding this body, this mindfulness immersed in the body, keeping that present at all times. Not getting so concerned about attainments, meditation attainments, getting and maintaining, jhanas and all of these kinds of things, although they're part of the practice. It's letting go of that intensity of almost a self-obsession with some of these kinds of techniques or methods or benchmarks, and plain and simple, staying with the body, mindfulness in everything one does, clear comprehension in the body, as a way of whittling away at this sense of self. And that's one of the biggest gifts we can give to ourselves, to the people around us, to the world around us, because then we'll be responding out of a naturalness for the wish for goodness, for freedom from suffering. When we let go of that self-concern, that self-involvement, that strong self-perception in body, speech, and mind, every way that it can be expressed. And so these are, this is appropriate attention, how we attend to our bodies, ourselves, our mental inclinations in a way that's looking through the lens of Dhamma, then through the lens of me. And this is really Buddha talks about the two most important factors in developing the path, the internal and the external. And the internal being this factor of appropriate attention, wise attention to how what we attend to in our inner world and how we attend to it in an appropriate way. And then the external one being this refuge in Kalyanamita, this refuge in wise company, hanging around, spending time in the external world in wise ways, like our teachers and examples from the past. So the internal and the external refuges that lead us into full development of the path. So anyway, just encouraging people to take some time to balance out the formal meditation, the formal reflections, the formal teachings on the Dhamma, and considering the human aspect of our lives here, taking refuge in the goodness as it manifests from our teachers and from our fellow practitioners, and to rejoice in that and try and emulate the best qualities that can come out from keeping this practice the center of our lives. So we do the chant with the phrase that comes out as they give rise for incomparable goodness to arise in the world. Give occasion for incomparable goodness to arise in the world. So I'll leave it for this Saturday night reflection right there.